Alright, welcome to the introductory video and tutorial series that's going to cover operating your website. And right off the bat, I want to mention that we're not doing a WordPress 101, so I'm not going to cover everything and all things related to WordPress. I'm going to touch base on everything that affects you and how you maintain your website, and I will, touch a couple things that are in general related to WordPress. So if you have other questions that aren't necessarily covered in these videos and things like that, I would recommend doing a Google search. There is a ton of information, free information at that, as far as just updating or working with WordPress in general. Again, I'll try to be as detailed as possible, but I'm not going to cover everything that's in the world of WordPress, so to speak. Okay, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump in, and what's going to happen is I'm going to do a series of video tutorials for you. Your site is really basic, so I don't see it being more than 7 or 8 videos, probably in the 5 area, and I try to keep them very short, being 5 to 7 minutes average. There might be a couple that are 2 minutes, might be a couple that are 8 minutes, but I try to keep it short. That way you're not kind of drooling on yourself, wishing that the video would end. Let's go ahead and jump in. And what we're seeing right now is your login screen. This is where you log in to maintain WordPress. And right now, because you haven't figured out what you're going to, at least at the time of this video, haven't figured out what you're doing with hosting, where it's going to be hosted at, when you go to log in, it's always going to be your URL and then / this information, this line of text right here, wp-admin. So right now, we're set up right here. That's where it is until you decide where you want to move it to. So what's always going to happen is going to be your URL string / wp-admin. So, for instance, if your site is, joe.com, and you needed to operate or make edits in WordPress, it would be wp-admin. It's always going to be like that. So when you get your new setup, remember that whatever you're seeing right here and whatever link we forward over is just temporary. All right. So we have this set up. So what I want to do now is, once I see the screen, is log in with the information and credentials to get us to the back end. So I believe it's admin, and then hoping it has this saved. Okay, we're good to go. First thing is, when you first log in, my page, let me back up, my page is really cleaned up here. When you first log in, you're probably going to see all this junk in here, all this stuff, and this is on a per computer basis. So first time you log in on a different computer, you're going to see all these things, and most of this stuff you probably don't even need or care about. So first thing I'll do is I'll dismiss that, and to choose and set what you want, you just click this screen options panel and just uncheck or check. Since you're doing a blog, maybe the recent drafts is important to you, incoming links is important to you, I don't know, comments maybe, that's up to you. Me, personally, I don't like anything but this one box. That's just me. Alright, next thing is, sorry about that, is the menu on the left, the main menu. This is how we're going to get to the majority of the sections within your site. A lot of it being spent in the post section and in the events section, assuming that's where most of your updates are going to come from. So if we hover all of these, we'll see the main category and then the subcategories of each one, which more often than not is going to be posts, and then all posts adding a new one. Pages, all pages adding a new one. Events, all events adding a new one. So forth and so forth. And when I first started this video, when I mentioned not doing 101, a lot of that is what's pertained in here, because you're really not going to need all these things, but maybe you're curious, maybe you want to know. So for instance, if we go to settings, we have a general section. We have the name of the website would be here, so if you want to change that, Color Collective, a tagline if you care about that. Do not, and I cannot stress enough, change these URLs ever. Will break your site. Your email address, the master email address, you will want to change that, because right now it's our address. And a couple other things like your timestamp, the date, the format, the time, that kind of a thing. That's all up to you as far as what you want to update. So these little things in here, you can kind of find out more about those on the internet. I'm not going to touch base on all those things. I'm just going to focus on basically making a blog posts and working with individual pages such as your trends, your events, your about us, and working with this, what we call sidebar, and your widgets. These are all widgets right here. That's really what I'm going to focus on for these video tutorials. All right. Next, what I want to show you is users, how we can make a user, add a user. So I'm going to come here, and right now we just have the default one. Never delete this. Not that you would. I do recommend you change the email out and the password, but never delete and remove this because your site, again, will break. And what we can do, if you want to update this once the keys, so to speak, are turned over to you, you want to come in here and change out the email address so it's no longer our email address, as well as update your password. You can do that here. Now you'll see these two little thumbs down here. I'm going to cover that in a separate tutorial, so just don't worry about this at the moment, but I will come back to that. But I do want to make a new user. So while we're at it, I'm going to do add new, give it a username, and do, let's see, we'll do Brooke. We'll drop in Brooke's email address here. First name, last name, I don't really care too much about. I'll do a password of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, change those out. Do not leave these generic passwords in there for security reasons. We want to send this email to the user that they got this and they're set up. And what's really important, if you want someone to be able to actually make edits throughout the site, we want to set that as an administrator, not a subscriber, but an administrator. Highly important. Go ahead and click Add New. That's it. We're set. And we now have a new user. You can delete this one out, not a problem. Don't worry about if that's going to ruin the site. But it's this main one that we're really concerned with. All right. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. I just want to give a brief introduction to the back end of the site. I'll go ahead and pick it up in the next video.